Hi everybody, welcome to the second episode of the IX Studio modeling series. In this episode, we will be modeling a basic object, learning the importance of proportion, and exploring the practical uses of some of the modifiers. For our purposes, we won't be using the light or the camera, so you can delete them by pressing X. Now, I'm going to download a program called PureRef. PureRef is a great program for collecting references. Gathering good references is key to making good models and textures. In this episode, we are going to be modeling a table similar to the one in my PureRef. Please take note of the shape and proportions of this table. This table is longer than it is wide, and it is fairly tall. Now when modeling, you have to make sure that you are modeling with respect to proportion. Proportion is key to a great looking model. I have seen many games with assets where the modelers completely disregarded the proportions, and it comes out looking wonky. Do not let your game be that game. To make sure our assets do not feel out of place when playing the game, we will import the Roblox default man and model according to his proportions. To import an object, what you should do is you should go to the File tab in the top left, scroll down to Import, and import as an FBX. You can find the Roblox man as an FBX online. When I imported my Roblox man, he was 100 times too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do S10 and then hit Enter, and then Shift R to repeat that action. So now that we have the height of a Roblox character, let's think about proportion. Our table will probably go up to the mid-shoulder of that character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cube, I'm going to press G, Z to bind it to the Z-axis, and then res it up to the shoulder. I'm going to scale it along the Y-axis, do a little bit on the X as well, and then I will scale it on the Z-axis to about the same width as the top of the table. Now we notice the table is relatively small to the character, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it up until it looks about right to me. I'm going to move the Roblox man to the side. To do this, I'm going to press G and then X to bind him to the X-axis. And I'm going to rotate him 90 degrees by pressing R, 90, and then bind it to the Z, then hit Enter. Now, I'm going to move on to modeling the other components of the table. In our reference, you'll notice the legs of the table are circular, but the top pegs of them are square. This is not an issue. You'll notice when looking at our model compared to the reference, the top part of the table is a little thick, so let's scale that along the Z until it looks right. First, we will model the legs. I'm going to go to the top orthographic view, and then I will press Z to go to the wireframe view. I'm going to press Shift A, and then I will add a circle. By default, the circle you will add into the scene is 32 vertices in resolution. To change this, go to the bottom left and click the little drop-down tab, then adjust the top number. 32 vertices will be too heavy for what we're using it for, so I'm going to drop it down to 10. Press G to move it into space, and then press S to scale it down to about leg size. And then I will enter the side orthographic view, and then I will scale it down a bit more because it looks a little big. Now that it's the right size, I'm going to press Tab to enter edit mode, and then I'll press E to extrude upward, and then Z to bind on the Z axis. And then I will move it up to the desired height. But then you'll notice on our reference there's a little loop at the leg of the table. We're going to create a loop there for later. For now, we're going to press E and then Z to extrude up along the Z axis to create the length of that loop, and then press E again to do the rest of the leg of the table. Now for viewing pleasure, I'm going to right click on the object and hit Shade Smooth. So now that we're looking at the table, we'll see proportionally, the leg is too thick and the table is too short. Let's fix that. In this case, the leg is too thick, so what we will do is we will press S and then Shift Z to scale on all axes except the Z axis. Doing this will make the table look significantly taller, but I'm also going to raise the board of the table up a bit. I'm going to raise the top of the table to just above where the elbows would be on the Roblox man. To thicken the legs a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press S and then Shift Z to scale on all axes except the Z again, to make them a bit thicker. Now when I'm selecting vertices, you might notice that if you're not in the wireframe view, you'll only select the vertices in front of the camera, not those behind the other parts of the mesh. To select the entire loop, press Z, then go to wireframe view, and then do your box selection. Now we've got the basic shape of the table. I'm going to add the little ball at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the loop up, and then extrude, scale in, move it up a bit, make another extrusion up, extrude up again, scale out a little, and then finish off the top of the table. Now look, I've forgotten to move one of the loops up. Now what I can do to select the entire loop and move it at the same time is I can hold Alt and then click on the loop to select the entire loop, and then move that. Now to add the square part of the leg. To add the cube perfectly in the center, what you can do is you can click on your object and then press Shift S to open up the radial menu and then do 3D cursor to selection. This will move the 3D cursor to the origin of the leg. If you have modeled how I showed in this video, the origin will be in the center of the leg. If it is not, what you can do is you can go to the Object tab, in the top left, and then click Object, Set Origin, Center of Mass. Now we can press Shift S, cursor to selected, and then press Shift A to add in a cube. We can move the cube up by pressing G and then Z, and you can scale it down to about the right size. And then I will reposition the leg from the top. Now I'm going to auto smooth the leg. So what I did is I clicked on the object, right click, and then select auto smooth. Then you can open up the object data properties, go to the normal tab, and then adjust the angle at which it will auto smooth. Now it's time to add modifiers. First, I'm going to click on the leg and the square above the leg. I'm going to press Ctrl J to join them. And then I'm going to have to auto smooth it again. Then you'll have to adjust the auto smooth angle once more. Now that we have them combined, head to the little blue wrench, which is the modifier tab, and then add on a mirror modifier. Currently, the object is mirrored in on itself. That's no good. So what you can do is you can hit the little eyedropper thing, you click on the table board, and it will mirror across the table really nicely. And then you can click the Y button to mirror along the Y axis as well. Suppose the object origin of the tabletop was not correctly positioned, the mirror modifier wouldn't work correctly. So what you can do is you can click on the tabletop, go to the object tab in the top left, reset origin, center of mass. That will fix that issue. Now it's time to do the little wooden slats. Now I'm going to add in another cube. I'm going to scale it along the x-axis to make it as thick as I think it should be. Then I will move the object into position. Now let's scale it along the y-axis so that it touches both poles. Now let's scale it along the z so that it's not so tall. Now we can mirror it over by adding a mirror modifier. Now that that's mirrored across, let's add a loop cut down the middle of that plank, and then delete one half of it. Because what I want to do is I want to mirror it along the x and y axis. This is done to conserve UV space in the end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top view, and then press A to select the plank, everything in there, and press Shift D to duplicate it, and then press R 90 to rotate it 90, and move it into position for the other side of the plank. To get it meeting nicely in the middle of the mirror modifier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the clipping button. What this will do is it will combine any vertice that crosses the mirror plane, as if it were one. Now we have that portion of the table model. Time to move on to the more fancy bits. What we can do is we can click on the leg, press Tab to go into edit mode, press 3 to go into face select mode, and then Alt click the loop down at the bottom of the leg where the little loop should be. Once we've done that, press E to extrude outward, and then press S and then Z to scale along the Z axis. And then I'm going to add a loop cut in the middle of that by pressing Shift R, and then scaling that one out slightly so that it creates a nice little bubble. And then I'm going to go up to the top and do a very similar thing, except instead of making a little loop, I'm going to try to make a ball. To make this easier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a loop cut in the middle of the tube, and then I'm going to scale that out, and then I'm going to press Ctrl B to bevel it. Hi everyone, that covers the tutorial portion of this video. Now, I'm going to put that knowledge to practical use. Now that we have covered the basics of asset creation, I'm going to roll some footage of me working on some pets to show the process done with minimal voiceover. In this recording, I made a base body for the pets that I wanted to make, that had good proportions, and that I was able to alter to fit the alternate designs that I wanted to go with.